Harrison Ford is 845 years old.
Yeah, and they had to stop the production because he broke his leg. And I don't think it was an action scene.
He was getting off of the bus. He is 765 years old.
Yeah, he's going to outlive us all. Why is there a triangle up here? What the fuck's this mean? Updating.
Uh-oh.
Quit that.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh reggae.
John, I haven't played a video game in like a month.
I was playing.
I don't know why.
Madden.
I don't know why.
I've been trying to get like back into playing like Witcher, but I pick it up for an hour and then stop. So,
see, I think that's your problem. You're not. You're not giving yourself time. It's the same with Cyberpunk. You're not giving yourself time to like invest in the story.
Yeah,
and so you don't care. And so then it's like you leave it and then you come back and you leave it and you come back and everything's so disjointed that you're like, you spend like 20 minutes going, what was I doing again? And then you just put it down. And
then it's been another 40 minutes. I'm like, oh, I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
That's why the sports games work well.
Yes, but they're not as good.
I enjoy them.
I don't care what you enjoy. We're talking about what I need you to like in order to, be a good person. Why?
I don't know. I think the bed at mom and dad's, sometimes I sleep on it wrong.
Carrying the weight of this fucking podcast.
Didn't want to say it. Oh, how heavy the shoulders that the crown wears. Well, how's that saying go?
Heavy is the brow that wears the crown. Something like that.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Heavy is the head. Brow's on a head. Like for me, like I wish that I could just like remove my memory of playing certain games and then I would go back and dive right in and feel great.
Ooh, like Grand Theft Auto, the most recent one. I wish I could do that because that was a lot of fun.
Like Witcher 3, I stayed away from for years and then I finally played it like 2 years ago and I was like, why did I sleep on this? This is so good.
Oh, yeah. I did get The Sims for Tiffany. It was $6.
Like Cyberpunk, Witcher, and Skyrim. I would like to just like pull those out of my brain.
I had a tough time getting into Skyrim. Oblivion I really got into. But Skyrim just... I think because they kind of forced you into the dragon path. And I liked how Oblivion was more open
so
world.
Much.
There is. It's just that one thing where it's like, yeah, you get to do anything you want except this one thing. You have to do that. I'm like,
what?
I want to do that.
Like what?
The dragon voice and that stuff.
And you just learn shouts. Just extra powers.
Yeah, I don't like it. Nah, yeah, but it's like you're part dragon. You have dragons in your soul, and I don't like it. I don't want them to tell me who I am.
They're killing people.
I don't care.
They're flying around and roasting people.
I want to use something else. I don't want dragon shout.
You don't have to dragon shout.
No, but they make you learn it.
You learn it, but you could go through that. After you learn it, you could go through that entire game and not use it.
It doesn't matter, though, but they're telling me that's part of my heritage, and I don't like that. I don't want to be part dragon. I want to be what I want to be. I can't immerse myself when they're like, hey, you have to do this.
Full of nonsense. That's what you are.
That's kind of why Cyberpunk's a little bit kind of like, that's a little nitpick I have with it, where it's like, you can do all these things, but you can't pick your name.
Well, it has to have something.
Yeah, I should get to pick it. Why can I adjust the size of my wiener, but I can't pick my own name? I don't like it. Trying to fit me in a box that I don't belong in, Richard.
Because you have to be something. See, in your world, you're picking. You're like, I want to do anything. But what would happen is you end up picking nothing, and then you just like wander around and you be like, I don't.
Well, it's like playing a tabletop, and it's like, hey, here's your character sheet. I already pre-selected the things that you have to have. It's like, but I don't want it. No, that's what you get.
No, that's not what it is at all. You know what it is. That's like, it's like you like make your character and everything, and then during the course of the story, I'm like, oh, by the way, you have this extra ability, and then you're like, why do I have that? I'm like, oh, because you're part dragon. And then you're like, I am? And then I'm like, yeah, you are. And so now you can do that thing. You're like, oh, okay.
Actually, it'd be more like everybody in the group. It's like you're all part dragons.
No, just you. That'd be me talking to just you.
And by the way, your name's Bob. I don't want to be Bob. Sorry, your name's Bob.
We're in a clash today. I feel it.
Think so? No,
it's a good thing we're talking about something that we both agree on, because I can't with you today.
You haven't even played games for a month. Why are you getting on me?
Because you've not played Skyrim, you haven't finished Witcher, you haven't finished Cyberpunk. I want to be you, so that way I can experience all that stuff again.
Yeah, and I want to be you, and I've already experienced it and had the time to. I can only ignore my kid for so long, Richard.
You have a kid?
I think so.
Do I have kids?
I was wondering where all my food went.
Motherfucker.
That's
Why am I
me.
making so much food? I was watching a series of interviews by this guy and lives in, I think he lives in Canada. But he's this guy called Nardwar. Have you heard of this dude? Oh my God. So there's this guy that does interviews. I kind of heard about him like tertiarily a long time ago, but like I really started kind of deep diving on him because like he's interviewed like so many fucking people, and whenever he does an interview, he brings up shit that like no one could ever know this information. Like I don't understand how like his research is unfucking canny.
Nardwar.
Whoa,
that dude looks creepy as hell.
He looks goofy as fuck, doesn't he? With the hat.
Yeah, he does. He's born in 1968.
Looks goofy as fucking all get out. But he interviews people and he brings up the fucking like. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna say some names at you real fast." And he says some names, and they're like, "How the fuck do you know that? I played volleyball with those people in 8th grade." And I'm like, "How does he know that?" But he's interviewed like so many fucking people. He toured. He followed fucking Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, and toured with him and did a bunch of interviews with them. He sang "Keep on Rockin' in the Free World" to Mikhail Gorbachev in Russian. Dude's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but he hasn't released an episode since October 29th. And he only has 66 ratings.
Wait a minute. Is this a podcast?
He's got one, yeah.
Oh, I was just deep diving on like some YouTube videos where he'd interview people.
It seems like that's what most of his stuff is. So I bet he releases them pretty regular there.
It's fucking crazy. Like he'll go up to people. He's like, "Oh, he's like, when he interviews somebody, he's like, "Oh, I have a gift for you." He's like, what can you tell me about this record? And he hands them a record and they're like, "Where the fuck did you find this?" There's like compilations of like him talking to like rappers and shit like that, and he asked him a question, and they're like, "How the fuck do you know that?" I'm like, I want to learn how he researches, and that's what I want to do.
He's got a team of 20 people.
I want to learn his research methodology, and that's how I want to interview people. Where like I bring up just like random facts from their fucking high school yearbook, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, I did love her, but I lost her. And that's why she's right here.
No, see, that's the thing. He doesn't do that. It's not like a whole "this is your life" thing. He'll just like mention shit, and they're like, "What? How do you, what?" But he's goofy as all fuck. Luke's goofy. He always wears that goddamn hat.
It does look odd. Happens to the best of us.
Oh, so the reason I brought up Nardwar is because I want this to be the subject of the cold open, because, okay, Shawn. So I was watching a YouTube video, and it was an interview with Courtney Love from like 1995, right? And in the video, they're like backstage at a concert, and in the video, hanging out with Courtney Love is Drew Barrymore.
Okay, makes sense.
So
they're both kind of popular around that time.
Right, and this is like circa 1995 Drew Barrymore.
So this was post-Cobain?
Yes, it would have been, yeah. So I'm trying. So 95 Drew Barrymore was like when she's like flashing David Letterman and like acting fucking crazy and shit.
Yeah, because she was smoking weed and like doing coke before she was like 12.
Right? Okay. So and like,
wait, is Drew Barrymore going to be on the show?
No. Oh my God, I wish. But well, you know what? I don't know if I'd want to interview Drew Barrymore now because now she's like, she's
not going to flash me.
I don't think she acts. I don't think she acts like she's ashamed of her past. Like I don't think she's ashamed of her past. But I know it's something she doesn't. I can tell it's something she probably doesn't want to like actively have a conversation about.
But yeah, I think it's just like any of those kids from that time. It's just kind of you realize you're kind of taken advantage of almost.
But like, okay, so but what my underlying point is that Drew Barrymore, circa 1995, smoking hot. Not saying she's unattractive now, but she's smoking hot in 1995, right?
Yeah, I've always thought she's super cute. Like from The Mask and stuff. Oof.
The Mask?
She was in The Mask.
Was she in The Mask?
No, that's
fucking there's something about Mary Girl.
Yeah, you're right.
But I had this conversation with my wife, and I was actually like she watched me in my head, like put the puzzle pieces together in real time. Okay. So I thought 1995 Drew Barrymore was really cute, right? And I also think that she was fucking crazy, like insane, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I realized that in my brain, I equate crazy with interesting, and then I equate interesting with attractive. So therefore, going with the little logic arrows, crazy equals attractive in my brain.
Well, I mean, like, would you consider like Johansson attractive? She's not really crazy. Scarlett Johansson?
Not really, no. I mean, cute, but not really.
What about Britney Spears? You're like fucking hot. I'm like, yep, tracks.
I mean, maybe not so, like early, like not super early Britney Spears, but like that mid-era Britney Spears, like right around the time she shaved her head. Oh my God, Shawn, I'm figuring all this out right now.
Yeah, you didn't tell your wife that that's why you're attracted to her, is it?
I absolutely did. I mean, she knew that.
Wait, is that why you're podcasting outside?
No, she knows. She knows. I think she's fucking crazy.
Oh yeah,
she knows this, and I don't. I don't know. I don't know what that says. What does that say? Is that bad?
No,
Am I broken?
Something.
I feel like I'm broken.
No, I think there's something to like. It's kind of like the wild card. You're ready for spontaneity. You don't know what you're gonna get, and when they're kind of attractive already, and then it's just
that's exactly it. And to me, like I don't even see the crazy as crazy. I see the crazy as eccentric.
Yeah.
In my head, I play down the crazy, and I'm like, well, that's not crazy.
I mean, it's like outwardly interesting.
She's not stabbing herself in the head with a pencil. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's a different kind. It depends. Like, they're not homicidal, but, you could wake up one morning and be, like she could want to do something completely different or crazy. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
It's like, oh my God, she might jump up on the desk and flash Jay Leno.
But then, like, I think back to like previous girlfriends I had over the course of my life, and some of them were really fucking crazy.
Yeah, some might make out with you on a subway in 1 minute and then stabbing you in the leg the other.
I mean, you just described my fucking 20s, Shawn.
Yeah. Yeah, gotta be careful with that.
I don't know. I didn't think that I had a type.
You just didn't want to admit that your type was a little crazy.
Yeah, I didn't think I had a type, but apparently I do have a type. Even Amanda said, she's like, she said, we watched that. There was this thing on Netflix called Attack of the Hollywood Cliches, and there was one that was like the manic pixie girl, and she's like, "Oh, that's your type," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" That's
look,
type.
Drew Barrymore. I think she's really hot. Oh, that's the chick from Just Married. She's hot.
I think the example they gave in the show was
Brittany
which
Murphy.
I never
So
saw.
where's Brittany Murphy stay on you?
No. Ooh, Brittany Murphy was pretty cute.
Yeah, I like Brittany Murphy a lot.
See, maybe you have the same type.
See, my type is like the broken, like I think I have a hero complex when it comes to it. Like,
so your type is I can fix her.
Yeah, like, I'll scoop her out of the trailer park and save her from all the horrible world that she's living in.
See, yeah, I don't have that high an opinion of myself.
Oh, she's dating the jock. I'll show her what a real man is. I watched a lot of movies with my mom, Richard, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think I would do well in a romantic comedy, because I would, like, if I was in a romantic comedy, it would last, like 25 minutes.
No, you'd just be the guy that hooks up with the crazy friend.
Well, I'm saying I would meet the crazy girl, because the way a romantic comedy goes is you meet the quirky girl, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna help you get the hot girl, or I'm gonna make you, we're gonna have fun, but you're really gonna be into the hot girl." And then the guy goes after the hot girl and then realizes, "No, I want the quirky girl." If I was in that movie, it would last 25 minutes because I'd be with the quirky girl and they'd be like, "You're exactly what I'm looking for." And then the credits.
You want to go hop trains? Yeah. That's why I love you.
That sounds nice.
I don't know. What does that tell you about you now then? Like, do you feel like you've solved a great mystery of your life?
Kind of, a little bit. Because I didn't think I had a quote unquote type. I mean, there were traits that I found attractive, but I didn't think you could mold it together into a category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now you can, though.
Now
when you write your autobiography, you've already got your answer to that chapter.
That's me.
Yeah. What would that chapter be called? Crazy Love? Love Crazy?
Yeah.
My Crazy Love?
I hurt the ones that I love, and that happens to be myself.
That's a good chapter title.
I know, right? Thank you.
I like that. You should write that down.
I already did. Chapter 4. All right. Let's start a show. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we're speaking the language of bromance today. We, Shawn, you and I, went and saw a movie, and I can't bear the lead. A movie that I liked, and the movie that you liked.
Oh, Richard, there's something strange in Somerville. We, not together, but separately, got to see Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes.
And I thought that this movie was horrible. Nobody should go see it.
That's
Worst
a lie.
movie ever. I didn't like that they recasted the Ghostbusters with 3 women from SNL. And wait. I didn't think that Thor did a great job.
Oh,
there's
buddy.
No hammer.
Oh, you didn't come prepared.
Wait. Yeah, we had to watch the new Ghostbusters movie.
Oh no.
What?
This is the part where we should play some like interlude, some like intermission music. Be like, where Shawn goes, "Hang on, I'll be right back."
No. Yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife. You watched it and you texted me right away and said you're gonna love this movie.
Yes, I did, and I knew it as soon as I stood up from my seat. I was like, Shawn is going to adore this fucking movie.
And I did. I thought it hit all the right nostalgia feels. I thought it was paced really well. I think it's a great introduction for people like who don't really know what Ghostbusters is, and they kind of play on that in there between like the kids and the adults. Like, like the Ghostbusters with the adults was like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. And the kids were like, what the fuck are the Ghostbusters? And they find out. But I kind of felt bad like watching through it. I know we probably won't talk about the other Ghostbuster movie because I haven't actually seen it.
Nope,
and I
me
felt
neither.
like I kind of should have to have a good opinion on if it's bad or not. I just never watched it.
I feel like I don't need to. I don't feel like I need to do that to myself.
And I felt like this movie, it's like, well, why'd you go see this one instead of the other one? And I think because this one was really like a continuation of the original.
Because I hate women, Shawn. That's why I didn't.
Oh, I didn't want to say that out loud because I asked you that. I said, Richard, should we go see the other new one? You're like, no.
Because
I don't like women with
women.
I don't like women with tools. It scares me.
Shawn, that was 4 years ago. Think
Was
about
it only
like
4 years ago?
Yeah, it came out in like 2016.
That's like 6 years ago.
Oh fuck, really?
Yeah, we're in 2020 right. We're in 2022 right now.
I feel like I'm in some weird time warp.
Yeah. I saw somebody post something about like it's kind of like it was basically like from Scream or Scary Movie. It's Ghostface running down the steps and the person pushing the piano down at him, and it said the piano said 2022, and the Ghostface was me thinking it's 2015. Yeah,
I saw a thing that said that kids today think about the 90s the way you and I think about the 60s.
Yeah. Well, Ghostbusters, the original movie, was almost 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It was almost a half a century ago.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing that kind of struck me is I don't know if this is odd, but when I went to see it on a Thursday night. My friend Shane bought me a ticket and he's like, "Hey, I got a ticket to go see Ghostbusters." And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm going to go then." So I went.
Did you tell Shane that you guys get separate popcorn and separate sodas?
We did get separate popcorn and separate sodas.
He got my threat.
And I was slightly baked. But anyway, so I like that popcorn and soda were gone like 5 minutes. By the time the previews were over, I was out.
No free refills?
Well, there were, but I didn't want to get up.
You're like, I don't want to miss the spaceship. It's like, Richard,
well, but when I ran out, that's when the actual movie started. So I was like, well, I'm stuck now. But the one thing I noticed, which I don't know what the box office numbers are at this point, like post opening weekend, but theater wasn't that full for me.
Yeah, I sent you a picture of mine.
It was Thursday night, like the
opening night. Yeah. I went to a 7:00 Monday show, which isn't like the most popular night, but like right after opening weekend. And I showed up 15 minutes before the movie started, and there was nobody in there. But by the time the movie started, there's probably about 20 to 25 people in there.
That's about like I think I showed up maybe 10 minutes early. And got the exact seats I wanted because there was hardly any. I think there was maybe 6 or 7 others. And then by the time the movie started, there was about, I'd say about 20 to 30.
Yeah, so I had my seat, and I finished my nachos, and I was going to go to the bathroom before it started. And when I came back, somebody had moved my soda and took my seat. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was a family of 3. And they're like, "Wait, were you sitting here?" I was like, "Yeah, but it's cool. I'll sit here." And they're like, "Oh, we thought it might have been from the other movie." It's like, "No, it's no big deal." And then the kid,
what?
Yeah, and
no
then
way.
The kid that was so I had a seat between me and them, and they had their kid who was like maybe 13 or 14, talked the entire movie.
Oh my God, Shawn! I had somebody sitting behind me that just like was saying the most asinine like this dude. I swear this guy had to have an IQ of like 5.5 because this man was utterly fascinated by those little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. Like he was fucking enamored. I think like that man just thought that like fucking God himself had graced the screen with his presence, and either he thinks those things are real, or he thinks that, or he hasn't seen like a computer generated image since 1986.
Yeah, you talk about like being able to take video games out of your head and like relive them. Like that's the life I want, where I'm like super fascinated by CGI Marshmallow Men.
He was fucking. You'd have thought. Oh my God! He was like, oh my God! Oh, I look at those little marsh. Oh my God!
This kid was just like,
wow.
This kid was just really good about pointing out like the obvious, like a second before it happened. Like when they see the pictures of her on the desk, he's like, oh, I bet that's a picture of her. It's like, no shit, it's a picture of her.
Whap. And that's when I punched that kid square in the face.
Oh my God, it's her grandpa. He was a Ghostbuster. It's like, no shit.
And then I looked at the parents. I'm like, I'm sorry, were you going to do that? Did I?
He's like, oh my God, it's Gozer. And I'm like, no. Oh yeah, you're right.
So my theater wasn't super packed, which I was surprised by. And from what I understand, I think the opening box office was good. I mean, I think it hit number one.
It's at 60 million.
Yeah.
So not bad.
I want this movie to do well. Like not only did I like it, I want the movie to do well financially so that way they make more of them.
Well, and this was a movie that was
more of them.
This was a movie that was ready in 19. Like I think it was supposed to come out like March or April of 20, or maybe summer of 20.
Yeah, I think the plan was summer of 2020. I want more of these, Shawn. I need more of these.
I liked it, and I think it was set up really well to kind of take the mantle with the kids. Like I thought all the kids did really well.
Yes. Okay, so first off, I mean, I thought the kids did well. However, the girl whose name escapes me, McKenna Grace plays Egon's granddaughter. That girl can carried. I feel like carried the weight of that movie, and not only did it with great aptitude, but made it seem effortless. You see, okay, so in movies, especially now, you can kind of get that the kids will have kids in movies, especially when you're trying to create like a team dynamic. Everybody has their own little roles. Like you always have, oh, well, this kid's the smart ass and this kid's the whatever. And this kid's the brains, the tech, and you kind of sit there and go like, well, this doesn't seem believable that a kid, can be that apt, I guess, when it comes to messing with, high end technology, such as, like a nuclear accelerator.
Well, I mean, yeah,
however,
like it's not super common, but you have people who are kind of like savants type thing.
Yeah. And this kid made the performance of believable of at one point that kid takes apart and repairs a proton pack.
I mean, she has help.
She does have help. And as you're watching it, you're going like, yeah, I believe this. This is believable.
Yeah, and then when Finn Wolfhard's working on the car, you're like, he's not fixing that without any help. He's got to have lots of help.
No way he knows how to take apart a carburetor from 1984. No way.
The funniest part about that is you hear the wrench like twerking, and then like he pops out of the hood, and his hand comes out of the engine, and he's not holding a wrench at all. I was like, took me out of it. The kid next to me was like, he didn't even have a wrench. I was like, I know, right? I'm starting to like you, kid.
And also, shut up.
You point out the obvious, but that was something worth pointing out.
So, I guess the thing that I liked the most about this movie in general, and this is non-spoiler territory. I can say this and have it not be a spoiler. The thing that I liked about this movie the most was that the entire story makes sense. The entire story is believable. And when I say that, we're talking about a story that involves ghosts and the catching of ghosts. But the story makes sense. Like, you're watching this movie, and when things happen or there's certain, tech and devices used, you're like, that's how that would happen. And when a character says a certain thing or acts a certain way, like, that's how that character would act. And when as the story goes, like, the whole story progresses in a very natural and logical fashion. Nothing feels forced in this movie.
I heard there were some people talking about it and said, like, there's always this, like, try to capture, like, a Goonies feel.
Yeah.
And, like, this movie did a really good job with that. And I think that's kind of why I like this, because it does have that Goonies feel, but I also feel like they kind of, without meaning to, because you had to actually point this out to me, these new 4 characters are going to be your 4 new Ghostbusters, really kind of take on the roles of what the original Ghostbusters did, right? Like, you have Phoebe as Egon. You've got Finn Wolfhard, Trevor's character, as the Peter Venkman. You've got Podcast as kind of the Ray. And then the girl, Lucky, she's kind of the Winston.
Let's take a second and mention that there's a character called Podcast.
Yeah. And I listened, and it's true. Like, it really started to find your voice after about episode 46.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. I always wonder, like, when we're jumping the shark of that, because it seems like there's always that one character in a couple different movies where it's like, oh, he's the podcaster. And where we've got to the point where that's jump the shark, where, like, it's not going to work out as well or fit.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a supernatural history food review podcast.
I was really happy with the way this story went. It does definitely have some Force Awakens vibes in there, where it's, and I guess maybe we're going into spoiler territory at this point. It definitely has some Force Awakens vibes in the sense that it doesn't necessarily rehash or it doesn't necessarily rehash the entire first movie. I mean, it does have some of this. It does have similar beats. However, it has similar beats because that's the way that particular ghost / protagonist works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see it a little bit. Like, I feel like, they kind of made this more like a haunted house story. And then, like you said, like, it kind of made sense of, like, because the whole thing, too, I was trying to figure out was, like, why would Egon just leave all of a sudden and not have any tie to the Ghostbusters? And they kind of make that allure, like, he left with everything and kind of left him dry because there's no more ghost busting to be done, so they lost all their money. But you kind of learn throughout all this is, like, he went here because he had discovered this, and he was really keeping all this stuff at bay. And,
see, I figured it out in the first, 30 seconds. First 30 seconds of the movie, Egon is because the first couple minutes of the movie is a flashback, right? So somebody crashes through the gates of this mountain, and at the top it says Shandor Mining Corps.
Mm-hmm.
And so I watched the original a bunch of times, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my God, it's fucking Gozer, because it's Ivo Shandor. Was like, Egon mentions him in the first movie as the person that built the tower that Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis turned into dogs in.
Yeah. And did they mention much besides that he built that? Was that kind of a throwaway line, or did he? I don't remember him actually having a tie to Gozer in that movie. Like, I don't remember him building. No, he
talks about him a little bit. He says In the original, he says the original architect's name was Ivo Shandor. He read about him in Tobin's Spirit Guide. And then what did he say? He said he was also a doctor, and then that started a secret society of Gozer worshippers.
Oh, yeah.
And he conducted rituals on the roof to bring about the end of the world.
Yeah. And did you know who played Ivo Shandor in this?
Yeah, it was fucking J.K. Simmons.
Yeah. I saw this pop up and I was looking through the credits. I saw J.K. Simmons. Like, who the fuck did he play?
Yeah. When you see his face, I was like, that's fucking J.K. Simmons. I was like, oh my God, like, is J.K. Simmons going to be the bad guy? Because J.K. Simmons, big actor.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, like I feel like we're thoroughly in spoiler territory now, but he doesn't last very long.
No.
He is not. If he's a villain, he is a bad villain.
Yeah. I loved it though. He walks up, he's just kind of like, I've made this all for you so we can gone.
Yep. But again, like that for me in my head, like going back to what I originally said, like everything that happens in this movie, like makes sense. They go, so Gozer's apparently coming back, and the kids end up wandering into this cave, and they find out that Egon has set up this whole fucking proton system that, like, the ghosts are starting to like come up.
Yeah, they're trying to get out, and that
like
shoots
a portal.
Them back down. Yeah,
yeah, and the Egon seemed to rig this fucking system that like keeps everything at bay and has got it running like on automatic pilot, basically, and like. That's why there's fucking earthquakes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exactly what he would do. Like he'd be sitting there trying to figure out like, okay, like I'll come up with a plan, but in the meantime, I need to stop this thing from happening. So I'm going to build this big giant thing. Like, yeah, that's what he would. Of course, that's what he'd do.
Yeah, because it's coming up to the year where everything was starting to happen. And so he was going to try and catch her, and it didn't work out for him because he had the heart attack.
Yep. Yeah.
So on that, like, how'd you feel about the Egon kind of not really Easter egg, but the giving him some really well done credit, like at the end, like the actor and everything, because he's been gone for what, 3
Harold
or 4
Ramis.
years?
Yep, he's been gone for a while. Yeah. And I mean, and that was not. I would say that's not only a big blow in terms of you lose a big actor and a big part of that, but like I mean he wrote a good chunk of that of both those movies, I believe, and so it kind of was like can they do it without not only like one of the original 4, so to speak, but also like a chunk of the writing credit.
Yeah, and that's one of those things too. It's like, how do you fit that in there? Because you could be like, oh, he died and everybody's sad, but like he was pretty much the pivotal part of this movie, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess let me put it to you. Did it seem, because I feel like it's a super fine line. It's a hard needle to thread to put Harold Ramis in a movie after he's dead.
Yeah. I think that all comes down.
It's a hard way. It's you can do that and fuck it up and come off as super disrespectful.
You
can do that super easy.
I think it all kind of comes down to what, like, so if the actors come out and said like absolutely none of my stuff after I'm gone, I think that's one way you're like, if you hear that and then see it, then obviously it's not right.
Sure.
Secondary to that, I think it's completely up to the family. Like if the family like wants that to happen. And I think this is different too, because you have the son of the guy who, directed the original.
Yeah. Jason Reitman. And Jason Reitman's like, he's not new to the game. Like he's done some pretty decent movies. I think he's been nominated for Academy Awards. I don't know if he's won any.
I think so, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's been.
Yeah, he directed Juno.
Oh, yeah. Juno.
Thank You for Smoking.
Good. Yep. That was a good one. Like, he's made good movies.
Well, he was a producer on Jennifer's Body. It's classic. It's a crazy chick, and that one is. What about her, Richard? How does she fit in your list?
It's pretty hot.
She's pretty crazy too.
Yes, I know.
Megan Fox is pretty crazy.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, like, family's wishes and stuff aside, like, do you? I guess what I'm asking is, I think the fact that they put him in the movie and not give him any and no speaking lines. I think that was super smart. I feel like that was a super smart thing to do.
Yeah, I think
like,
if you gave him speaking
as a
lines,
ghost that just stands there and like kind of smiles and And
I almost didn't think they were going to show him at all too, because they really kind of kept that hidden throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And even like when he was running from the dog in the opening part, you kind of got glimpses of the face. You're like, oh my God, I think that's supposed to be Egon, but he's not here anymore. But yeah, I agree. Like, not giving a speaking part, because I mean, I'm sure they could. They have the technology to do it, but I feel like that would probably come off pretty disrespectful because,
I think it would not just this. Well, I mean, yes, it would probably come off disrespectful. I think it would just probably come off bad.
Yeah, kind of tacky, because I feel like using your likeness is one thing, but then trying to force words through the mouth, well, maybe he wouldn't have actually said that. You don't know, but you know what he looks like.
Yeah.
And I do love, like, it's definitely kind of like a very good family feel to that too. Like, we talked about numerous things. Like, death is one of those things that, like, I think about way too much. And when you have things like this, like where people kind of get that last goodbye, like, I always feel like that's like, I don't know. I just always like that because it kind of tied the bow, or kind of made sure there was no loose ends between like her and her dad, right? Like, she didn't know him very well because he left because he was trying to save the world, and she just thought he was an asshole. Yeah. And then in this little bit of a moment where they save the world, she's like, oh shit, like I was completely wrong. He did care about her. Like, he had this whole wall of stuff from her. Yeah. Like that kid next to me said, he's like, oh my God, he's been watching her forever. I was like, I know, way to point out the obvious.
One question I had the entire time is, who did Egon sleep with?
I don't know, because they showed the secretary. They showed the little like romantic,
Janine.
Yeah, little romantic thing that they had. But I was like, well, that's not. I mean, like, if that was her mom, you would know, right?
Right, because she introduces herself. She's like, "Oh, hi, I'm Janine Melnitz." So, like, obviously, like, that's not the mom, because if that was the mom, then like she would have gotten to the house and been like, "Mom, what the fuck did Dad do here?" And then she'd be like, "Well, Dad didn't. Your father didn't know what the fuck to do with money." So,
yeah, I love the part too when she goes in there and she says something about like I don't know about exactly how it was. Like, so he didn't leave me anything. He's like, "Oh no, there's lots of debt." But yeah, I don't know. Like, and I don't know if that's left vague for a reason, or does it really matter? I don't know. That's a good question. I kind of wondered the same thing and wonder if like maybe like she didn't even know like that was her mom. But yeah, again,
like that's something that I think needs to be explored in more movies.
Well, does that really need to be a point in the movies? I mean, if
it doesn't have to be, but it could be.
I mean, yeah, definitely could be. So the other interesting thing, like you told me on the way on my drive back, so apparently in this canon, Ghostbusters 1 is the only Ghostbusters movies that's happened.
Yeah. Which that's, from what I've read online, it seems like that's the premise. The premise of this movie is that Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters movie, is the only thing that happened. So Ghostbusters 2 does not exist.
Oh, you know what? I just kind of looked it up. So there's an article from MovieWeb 2 days ago. Jason Reitman confirms Ghostbusters 2 is canon in Afterlife.
Oh.
Could influence sequels.
Oh, okay.
So this is what he was quoted as saying. He says, no, Ghostbusters 2, definitely canon. There are references to Ghostbusters 2 in Afterlife. We meet Ray working at Ray's occult, so there's this assumption that it is not canon, but it is definitely canon. And that was from a day ago.
Okay.
That was on Sci-Fi.
Okay, that's cool. Interesting. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but I really like that he's saying that this could influence.
I don't know.
sequels.
It's just Yeah, I don't think there was any reference. Like, I can't really think of any big references that were of the second movie that were in this.
Well, it sounds like the only thing is maybe the Ray's a cult. Maybe that was only in the second one.
It was. As soon as you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, it was.
But
Ray had
yeah, I mean that, because then we get the creepy painting dude again. If they did a second one,
yeah, but then you also have Sigourney Weaver's kid in the second movie.
Yeah,
who at this point is now grown up. What if he grows up and he's like the villain?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be fucking gold.
Like he's somehow got some of that spirit in him still. And he's been carrying it for like 35 years.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's perfect.
What are we talking about? So yeah, you're saying that. So it sounds like 2 is in canon.
Okay.
And
I'm fine with that.
And like in terms of like how this fits into our society, like if there was like a Ghostbuster event in the 80s or ghosts were around, like obviously everybody would be like, oh my God, yeah, I know exactly who the Ghostbusters are. But like people my age, like yeah, I remember it. I watched it when I was a kid. But like kids nowadays, if there hadn't been any ghost busting in like 35 years, like they wouldn't believe it. They'd have no care in the world to see it. It'd be some weird thing on YouTube that happened in the 80s, right?
Exactly. Well, okay, like okay, I guess the best way I could think about it would be, and this is God, I feel bad. Like in my head, this sounds like a almost offensive comparison, but like you have no concept of Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
You know, but like it was a pivotal, seminal event.
Yeah.
Like, you know that it happened, but like that's about as far as you go with it.
Yeah, I can't put myself in the shoes of the people that were around when they heard, hey, guess what? The Japanese attacked. We're going into World War II.
Right. And so like you ask in that world, if you say, hey, do you remember 40 years ago when a bunch of ghosts were running around New York and then a giant marshmallow man walked down the street? And they're like, no, I wasn't. I was like negative 35 years old. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, is there a TikTok video on it? No? Okay, don't care. But I mean, I think it fit kind of like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I think the way they did that really fit kind of like, it had twofold. It had like in the actual Ghostbuster universe, like it fit, but even in like our real world watching the show kind of fit. Because, you know, I would imagine there's a lot of kids who are in that 9 to 15 range who haven't seen Ghostbusters.
See, that makes no sense to me. I feel like isn't Ghostbusters like required viewing for?
I've already had my son watching the Ghostbusters cartoons. He saw those like a year or two ago.
Yeah, like I feel like knowing about the Ghostbusters is, you know, required for every red-blooded American child.
I think so. Well, and I think I'm raising my kid right because he wanted to see this movie, and I wasn't quite sure about it. But after watching this, I don't know if he's ready for this one, but probably next year he's definitely ready for Ghostbusters. I would
see like what you just said there, like that surprises me because from my memory, the original Ghostbusters movie was way more scary and racy than this one.
Yeah, but it still had a little bit of like my son's seen like more quality CGI now. Like if he goes back and watches like the 80s Ghostbusters, like I think he's going to be able to tell it's fake easier than like watching like this one that just came out.
Well, see, I feel like the racy will just go over his head.
Oh, it went over everybody's head. Like we didn't know that Ray was getting a bee jibber.
Yeah,
like nobody knew that. I just thought
100% went over my head.
Yeah,
I was in the car driving back because like I said, I went when I went to the movie. I went with a couple friends. I was like, you know what? I'm really surprised that this was way more kid friendly than the first one. I was like, because there was that BJ in the original. Like this is on the drive. I'm driving and dropping people off, you know. And somebody was like, wait, what are you talking about? I was like, dude, watch the original Ghostbusters. Ray 100% gets a blowjob from a ghost. That happens.
I don't remember
Like
what
that
I thought
happens
was happening
in the world.
I don't remember what
Do
I
what?
thought was happening when I was a kid.
I don't know either. I have no idea. Like as a kid, I'm like, I don't know what was going on.
I probably was like, Mom, what's happening? Is he scared? She's like, yes, he's scared. Never let that happen to you. Okay, Mom.
Yeah. The second you watch it as an adult, you're like, how did I? It is definitely one of those movies where you're like, how did I not see this? At one point, Sigourney Weaver says to Bill Murray, she says, I want you inside me.
Mm.
That happens.
Yeah, well, it was in the 80s, though. Like, the ratings in the 80s were a lot different than the ratings now.
Like, the most racy thing you see in this movie is Paul Rudd, like, grabs a girl and then takes her out of frame. And you're like, oh, they're going to do it.
Yeah. Well, and then podcast says, I think Gary wants to bone your mom.
Yeah.
There's another, what was the other part? There's another part that was kind of funny like that. Oh, she was talking about her daughter. So, okay. So the only complaints I have, I told you about one of them. I'll bring it up, but there's a second one that was kind of like, I mean, in this culture now, like maybe we should be careful with these jokes. But they're having dinner, and she was talking about her daughter, who in the movie's like 12, right?
Okay.
12 or 13. And Gary Gooberson is all like, oh my God, she's so cool. She's this, she's smart. She's a cool kid. And she's like, yeah, I just wish, she'd go out and make some mistakes. And he's like, oh, well, she's young. She might end up on a pole. And I was like, like you kind of been talking.
I didn't hang up on that at all.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. The joke was funny back because she said something like, oh, well, she's not very coordinated. He's like, oh, I don't think that matters. And like, it's a funny joke, but when it's like, it's a 12-year-old kid you're talking about, like, I don't know. Like, I don't even think that's a joke I would say about you and your kids.
I think you're being see, like in this instance, I feel like you're being a little sensitive about it.
Maybe. I definitely would say I'm being oversensitive about it. And I think it's more, again, like,
because I didn't catch on that. I mean, I remember it, but I didn't trip up on it. Like, oh my God, how dare they?
Well, and also you have to think, like, I just got done watching the 90s Kids documentary, like less than 2 weeks ago. And like all the stuff in there about what those kids went through. And so like in the back of my head, that's sitting there like, oh, it's a funny joke. And I'm like, there's kind of a lot of like stuff in Hollywood that has come out and you're making these jokes about these kids. Like,
but they're not in Hollywood, Sean. They're in Oklahoma.
They're not even in Oklahoma, Richard. They're in Canada.
Even better.
And the only other, I told you about this one too, where I was kind of like, again, a little oversensitive to it. But as they were putting on their Ghostbuster outfits, the kids, they had a quick scene of Lucky putting on hers, and like you see like a little bit of her bra action kind of going on, and then like Finn Wolfhard's like, "Oh," and she's like, "What?" He's like, "Boobies." He didn't say boobies, but that's what he was thinking. That was one of those other things.
You
I was like,
know what he was thinking. How dare you put impure thoughts in Finn Wolfhard's head?
What do you think he was thinking?
He was thinking, I like that color beige. I would like to paint my walls that color.
Oh, okay. What was he really thinking, Richard?
Boobies.
But that was the other one where I was like, man, like they're kids, like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I didn't even that one. I don't even remember. Like I must have just blanked that little snippet out of my head because I don't remember that whatsoever.
And to be completely honest, like I've had a lot of like conversation recently about like over sexualization on things.
Yeah.
So like it's definitely something like it's just like anything. You start talking and thinking about things like at a bigger picture, and these little things stick out with you. Probably completely meaningless. Like it was just like, hey, this seems like a funny joke, or hey, this is a quick scene. Like, but in my head, I'm thinking of this like. Thinking of them being in there's like, no, show more skin. We want to portray that Finn is getting hard right now.
Well, I think that's a bit much.
I mean, if that was Joss Whedon directing, that's probably what would happen.
Wow. Wow.
Listen, I have been listening to a lot of interviews about Joss Whedon, and it sounds like he is a big asshole.
Oh,
sidebar.
Wow.
I listened to an interview with James Masterson, the guy who played Spike on Buffy.
Yeah.
And apparently he was only supposed to be on the show for like 6 episodes, and then Joss Whedon was going to kill him off. But after like 2 episodes, he did such a great job and everybody loved him. The TV execs were like, oh my God, people love this Spike guy. We should keep him around.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon went up to James Masterson, who had nothing to do with any of this. I don't remember if he like slammed him against the wall or had like his hands on his throat. Like it was something very aggressive. And he was like, okay, I don't like you. I'm going to fucking kill your character.
Wow.
Yeah. And Masterson's like, dude, like it's just a job. Like whatever. Like pay me for 6 episodes and kill me off. I don't care. I'll do 3. So Joss Whedon, somebody
fucking they kept him around for like for like 6 seasons.
And then like 1 season of Angel.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is like I can see him being somebody like, show more skin, sweet tits. Yeah.
See, now you made it. You made it bad. That's what
I'm just trying to bring awareness. I'm trying to avoid the stuff we don't need.
You're trying to ruin what I think was a great experience going to the movies.
Oh shit! And there's the other part where Podcast gets sexually molested by the mom.
Oh my God, I don't remember that either.
It's when she gets possessed by the dog.
Did I just blank out through like fucking half of this movie?
So it's when she gets possessed by the dog. She's sitting in the chair, and Podcast gets close to her, and she like starts rubbing her hand through his hair. And I guarantee you, like not in real life, but in movie world, like if those other kids weren't there, she was gonna fuck that kid. I'm pretty confident of it. And Podcast was just gonna be like, record.
Just let it happen.
Yeah. I mean, it was my dream as like a 13, 14-year-old kid, right? But we don't need that in our TV. We don't need that in our Ghostbusters, Richard.
So one thing, one before we head to the major quote unquote spoiler of this thing. Couple things I want to say. No, not a couple. Just mainly one thing I want to say about Paul Rudd is that from the trailers and from everything you're seeing leading up to this movie, in your head, you're thinking like, oh, he's going to be the Peter Venkman of this movie. Like he's going to be like that, like fucking cool comic relief guy that's going to make this movie funny. Right. And then when you get through the movie, then you realize, oh my God, he wasn't Bill Murray. Like Paul Rudd is not the Bill Murray of this movie. Paul Rudd is the Rick Moranis of this movie.
Yeah. We talked about that again on the way home. Like that was, because again, I was worried it was going to be the Paul Rudd Ghostbusters movie. And he literally is a very side character in this.
Yes, he's a supporting character.
Yeah, and I love that they focused on the kids more than anything.
Yeah,
because even in the movie as they're going through stuff and they're going through the kids, I'm like, all right, well, I actually forgot Paul Rudd was in it because he's introduced like what 15, 20 minutes into the movie.
He's introduced in the. I mean, he's in the movie quite a bit. Yeah. He's the one that triggers that breaks all the shit that Egon built.
Yeah. Yeah.
And lets the ghosts out.
But like he shows up and it's like, oh yeah, Paul Rudd's in this. Oh, he's just a teacher. And then he had some great stuff in there where he starts showing Cujo and Chucky in the summer school class, which I thought was funny.
And he's also the one that helps like connect the dots with be like, this is a fucking ghost trap. And he's like, and then they're like, what do you mean? He's like, what do you mean? What do I mean? It's a fucking ghost trap.
Oh yeah. Is it real? Oh, nice replica. This is real, isn't it? No, yes, maybe. I did love the dynamic between Podcast and Phoebe. I thought they played well off each other.
Yes.
Because there's that scene, and there's a couple other ones that went really well.
I mean, you're right. The main focus of this movie was on McKenna Grace, Finn Wolfhard. Like it focuses on kind of like on the kids, and not even like it doesn't play it from the perspective of like, oh, these are kids and they don't know what the fuck to do. It's just that they're characters that happen to be kids, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they're kids doesn't really play into it a lot.
Oh, no.
I would say.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I agree with that. Yeah, and it's kind of like you kind of have the kids that, you know, it fits well in like a Ghostbuster world because like it's just like any kind of supernatural thing. Like if you're fighting like Gozer, like kids could not defeat Gozer, right? Like in a real world where there's a god of death type of thing, like
right.
There's no way kids can do it. But, you know, these kids are in this situation where they kind of make it work and they kind of get around stuff and make it happen. And like I said, it seemed like it all fit pretty well.
Yeah. And I also realized in this movie, again, like I was saying that like it definitely has some Force Awakens vibes to it where like just kind of beats and stuff like that on when things happen. And what I was saying when I was saying comparing it to Force Awakens, I guess what I meant was that, you know, the thing that people critique about Force Awakens was that like, oh, it just rehashes the whole first movie. It just replays the whole first movie. And I'm like, my response to that was always like, I mean, yeah, it kind of does, but there's a reason, because the first Star Wars was a good fucking movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how are you why fault them for saying, hey, this thing that works, let's do something similar to that?
When I feel like
how is that a bad thing? And in this instance, I would say it does. I would say that it does that in terms of kind of rehashing the first movie a bit. However, I feel that this Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife, does it better than Force Awakens because there is a reason that it is hitting the same beats story-wise, because they're fighting the same. They're fighting Gozer, and the whole mechanic with Gozer is Gozer wants to show up. Ghosts show up. Two dogs possess people. Those people get nasty together, and then they turn into dogs, and that summons, you know, the crazy Sumerian death god, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the mechanic, and so yeah, it's going to hit the same beats in this movie in terms of like the progression of how things happen as it did in the first movie, because that's what it takes for Gozer to show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But in like
so
the
it
way
makes sense that it hits the same beats.
Yeah. And it's not like it's it's the same, like Death Star, Gozer. Yeah, it's the same, but how they defeat Gozer is somewhat different. I mean, you do have, which I guess is a good way to segue into our not really Easter egg, but, you know, bringing in the original Ghostbusters. Like they show up. And again, I thought they did really well with this because it's like, yeah, they show up, but they're not pivotal to the movie, right? Like, I mean, they do kind of save the day. Like, I don't think if they didn't show up that, you know, that wouldn't have ended the same way.
You're right. If they didn't show up, then bad things would have happened. Yeah. I completely agree.
But much better than Force Awakens, where we get Skywalker at the end just staring weirdly at the camera.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, yeah. You're absolutely right. You got a little bit of pithy dialogue. I did like let out a very hard laugh at Gozer asking, "Are you a god?" And it wasn't a case of Ray going like, "Yes," like he didn't answer it right away.
Yeah,
like he stopped and kind of like thought about it. Like,
come on,
the
Ray.
other two are like, "Really? You're good? You're doing this again?" Like I would that made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, and
because it was just left of playing on my nostalgia. It was like it was just adjacent of like, he's gonna say yes. Watch. Wait a minute, what? He didn't say it right away. He like stopped for a second. He's like, but we're not. So I should say. And they're like, come on, man.
Yeah, I like Bill Murray's little interactions back and forth with her.
Yeah.
At the end, too, when he's telling her the one, Phoebe, like she was doing a good job, he's like, we're going to go inside and have some cocoa. Some of us will have rum in it.
Well, and then, okay. But see, they show up at the end, and in their head they're like, okay, we're gonna shoot Gozer with proton packs, and then we're gonna cross the streams because that's what we did in the last movie, and then everything's gonna be all hunky dory. And they do that, and it doesn't work, Shawn.
Yep. I love that it took like it was really cool with like it's like a very wrestling thing. Like there's like 3 or 4 false finishes with Gozer.
Yes.
You know, like they get there and they got her, and I'm like, oh shit, like they're gonna defeat her right here. It's like, no, like, oh, it's gonna happen. Oh, the other Ghostbusters show up. Okay, well, they're gonna defeat her here. Oh no, they're not. What's gonna happen? Oh, now they're all gonna nope, that didn't work. Oh wait, here's a 4th one. Wait, who's holding that? Holy shit, it's Egon. He's literally passing the torch. He's passing the proton pack on to the next generation, his next generation. He's passing it on to them, defeating Gozer.
Yeah. He helped her build that proton pack, and then he was helping her use it.
Yep. Passing the proton pack on.
Oh my God, I totally got off track, because the other thing I was going to say that was very similar to Force Awakens is that Ecto-1 is the Millennium Falcon of the Ghostbusters world.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that.
In the sense that the car is a character.
Yeah.
Like you
agreed.
see that car and you're like, oh, look at her. Look at that car.
Yeah, I heard
and then
somebody
it has
say
cool extra little things added to it, and you're like, that's even better.
Yep. I heard somebody say like in the first one the city was kind of a character, and so they're kind of passing that on to the car.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah, the car is 100% a character in this movie. So the only, I guess, you know, in searching for something to say I was kind of meh on, I would, and I did say this to you earlier, but one thing I was kind of lacking, I did feel like the pacing in general, the pacing for the first like maybe 45 minutes felt a little slow to me. However, when I sat down, when I got home and I sat down and I thought about the, you know, the pacing issue, because it did, the first 45 minutes felt a little slow to me. But I realized that I was comparing it, you know, because you can't help it. Like you're going to compare Ghostbusters Afterlife to the original Ghostbusters, and in terms of pacing, and this is just my opinion. In terms of pacing, Ghostbusters is the best movie when it comes to pacing. Ghostbusters is a perfectly timed and paced movie. Ghostbusters is an hour and 45 minutes, Shawn. I think the overall runtime of the original Ghostbusters movie, an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, wow. And this one's like what, 210, 215?
I think it's less than the original. I think it's 90. Might be a little more. Or I think you're right. It might be like right at 2 hours.
Oh no,
it's
the
original
48.
Ghostbusters, hour 48.
Oh wait, no, sorry. I'm looking. That's Ghostbusters 2.
But yes, Ghostbusters
2 hours 4 minutes.
Ghostbusters is the original Ghostbusters is a perfectly pitched movie, because it starts out like in the first 15 minutes, you know that these 3 guys know each other and you know what they're trying to do. They want to, you know, establish a containment system and try and catch an actual ghost. And then you're 30 minutes in and they are Ghostbusters and they are catching their first ghost. And they put in, if you notice, there's actually even like little montages throughout. There's like, I think like two, maybe 3 montages in the original Ghostbusters movie that last maybe, I don't know, 90 seconds. But it's just to give you the sense that time has passed and it conveys just as much information as you need, and then we're moving on. Comparing any movie to Ghostbusters in terms of pacing, I feel does that movie a disservice.
Agreed.
Because you're trying to compare it to something that's perfect.
And I think like when you went to see like the original Ghostbusters 2, you weren't quite sure what to expect. But like when you go into this, like you kind of know what to expect. So I think you're waiting for the ghost to show up.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's kind of like the Jaws thing. Like you go to the original Jaws, and the key to that movie is you don't see the shark until like an hour and a half in or an hour in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like
right.
Jaws 2, it's like you see the shark within the first 10 minutes because that's what people are expecting to see now.
Yeah. People want to see that fucking shark. You're like, we're here for the shark.
So
one critique I did hear about this movie is they said that there is a lack of ghosts in this movie.
I could see that. I thought it was fine the way it was.
I agree because think about the original Ghostbusters. When did you saw Slimer and then you saw the ghost at the end? There were other ghosts, but all the other ghosts played in those montages I talked about.
Yep.
And we're talking about like maybe 3. So in terms of like how many ghosts did you see in the original Ghostbusters and how many ghosts did you see in this movie? I'd say you saw maybe 3 or 4 more.
And I feel like you talked about like you got to thread the needle. Like you could definitely over ghost this movie too. You know, It's like, oh my God, we got a cowboy ghost. Oh my God, we got a settler ghost. Oh my God, here's businessman ghost.
I mean, could this movie have had? And you know what? Honestly, I think I would bet that if you when this movie comes out later on like streaming services and DVDs, if you see an extended cut of this movie, it's gonna have more ghosts in it.
Maybe.
I could definitely see that.
So Richard, one thing I want to talk about. So we actually have some feedback from other people, other listeners. Megan dropped us a very nice email about the show. So I was going to read it if you want to take a listen. So
yes, Megan says, I really do.
And this is really well written, so I want to do justice for it. So Ghostbusters Afterlife pretty much exceeded my expectations by sticking true to the original story and feel, but introducing a whole new cast of characters that could become their own franchise. Specifically, the Phoebe character was an amazing lead, in my opinion, with a good supporting cast.
Yep.
I believe that, like Egon, they were hinting to her having some differences, possibly on the spectrum, or just not quite fitting in because of her giftedness. I fell in love with her right away when you could see how genius she was and her incredible deadpan personality. We even talk about that, like her jokes. I loved her jokes.
Oh, so good. So good.
Interesting, I looked up the actress, and she plays on young Sheldon, so she got a good background in this kind of kid acting. She was definitely the breakout star for me, which I agree. We both talked about that. Like, I feel like she really knocked this out of the park.
100% knocked out of the park. If you make another Ghostbusters movie, you need to pay her $50 million to make sure that she's in it.
Yep. You set your franchise around her.
Yeah.
So Paul Rudd played his part perfectly, and I absolutely love that he was the slack-off teacher who turned on scary 80s movies for the summer school kids. His scene in Walmart with the marshmallows and diving through the glass-free windshield had my entire family rolling. I did too. I thought that was pretty funny. When he's running out and he just jumps through the window.
Yeah. Again,
although my first thought...
He's the Rick Moranis.
Yeah. Although my first thought when he did that was like, oh, he's going to cut something. I like that the mom had a cynical and semi-neglectful edge to her that reminded me a little bit of Bill Murray's personality in the original movie. Actually, come to think of it, Paul Rudd's shitty teaching techniques also called back to Bill Murray's treatment of the undergrad research subjects in the first film.
Oh, okay. I haven't thought of that, but yeah, okay. I can see that.
At first, I was a little disappointed that we were going to be in this tiny one-horse town instead of the rich backdrop of New York City, but I think it worked really well. We still got a sense of that local flavor with the creepy vintage buildings in the town, great landscape cinematography, and the townie reactions to their initial ghost-busting disaster spree through the main street. I also like this because they talked that because they were filming in Canada kind of isolated, that it helped keep things from getting spoiled. Because if they were shooting this in New York City, like you would have all kinds of footage of that happening.
Right. Well, because, I mean... I've heard them talk about like when they filmed the original, like nobody knew what they were making.
Yeah.
You know, like that movie wasn't on anybody's radar. So when you see people in the background in the original Ghostbusters, when you see people like in the background walking around, like those are literally just people walking around.
Yeah.
Like those aren't extras. Those are just fucking randos walking down the street.
Yeah, like Home Alone Lost in New York, they did a lot of that too. There's just randos walking around the street in the movie.
Yeah.
I kept thinking that because they were mining that special metal that conducts ghost activity, that the entire town was probably built with it. And all of the metal pieces we saw in the film featured prominently would end up becoming part of some giant town-wide electric conductor system or something. Like the bridge that had an odd color to it leading to the mine, the metal signs on top of the drive-in, and some of the other buildings downtown, etc. Felt like that was a little bit of a missed opportunity, but maybe will feature in a sequel. That's a good point, yeah.
Oh, maybe. Maybe.
Egon was my favorite character in the original, and I was definitely fighting back tears towards the end. I'm so glad that they made the choices they did to honor him and include him in the movie. Come to think of it, it felt like he was the most featured player out of all the original cast members throughout the film, even though the actor is no longer with us. His spirit was there the entire time, and they did such a wonderful job of having his ghost lead the children to the answers they needed. Bravo. Yeah, that's a good point. Because, I mean, you even see it kind of in the title, like it's Afterlife, right? Like from the afterlife, he's helping to ghost bust.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
My only real criticism was I thought it was too short and wrapped up too tidily. It could have used another subplot or more backstory on any of the characters, really. Left me wanting more. Stick around for one mid-credits scene and one post-credit scene, both of which featured original cast. My 8-year-old was up in the aisles dancing in his Ghostbusters shirt as soon as the end credit music started rolling, which warmed my heart completely. Minus a couple of bad words, I think this is one is suitable for most school-age kids and up. Take the whole family. So, Megan, thank you very much for that feedback. But
definitely, you're the best.
One thing we didn't talk about was the post-credit scenes.
The post-credit scenes, which the mid-credit scene, I would say, is definitely just kind of like a fan service thing.
Agreed.
And we get to see Sigourney Weaver. Yeah,
it's nice to see her back.
Yeah, agreed.
I did like the actual end credit scene because I thought it really it showed, Egon and her like relationship, and it definitely showed Winston like how successful he has, and that he's kind of kept the Ghostbuster kind of going and wants to push that forward. That's
where you set up your next movie.
Yep, he's going to bring those kids in and say, "Hey, go get them, Junior Ghostbusters."
Fucking fantastic. Give me more of that.
Yeah.
Put it in my veins. I want to see it. All of it.
But I don't know if I have much more else to say. Like, I really enjoyed the movie. I hope there are sequels. I hope they get the cast together to keep going with it. I mean, they're all getting older and everything.
I do too.
But
I 100% do.
Unless you have anything else.
I don't have anything else.
Do you have any Richard's closing thoughts to kind of tidy us up here?
I think Shawn said it best at the top when he said that it is a perfect blend of something old and something new. It definitely hits that sweet spot of nostalgia without being drowned in it. That's all I got. Go see the movie.
Yeah, go see it.
Everybody should go see the movie.
It should probably be coming out on streaming sometime soon. So if you hadn't seen it in theaters, go see it now. I'm ready to go see it a second time. But as we are ready to get on our proton packs and jump into Ecto 2, because Ecto 1's taken, so we got Ecto 2. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website, we're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. Again, I want to thank Megan for her feedback. I really enjoyed reading that. And shoot, if you have any kind of feedback you want to give us for anything, feel free to email us. We'll read it on the air.
Oh yeah, 100% we will. Wait, you think otherwise we just listen to each other?
Yeah. And if you want to hear your name on our podcast, the best way to do it is become a patron like Wendy and Aaron.
You guys are if you guys become ghosts, you'll always be trapped in our hearts.
Oh,
I know, right? Thanks.
I love it. All right. Well, is there anything else before I close her out?
No, I'm good, sir.
All right. Well, that's all the bonus stuff for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why.
Bia, who are you gonna call?
You're gonna call BroBusters.
That sounds dirty.
Yeah, that sounds like a gay porno.
Well, why not?
Yeah, that's how we make our millions.
Yeah.